Hi, good evening, everyone. So, today we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with problems related to utility and budget line. Let me summarize what is important from this topic. Okay. So, first of all of you will go ahead and all of you will do one numerical each on different type of utility function. What utility function you should be revising? Like, for example, if I tell you u of xy is x to the power alpha, y to the power beta, subject to pxx plus pyy less than equal to income, we know that for Cobb-Douglas utility function, the equilibrium x star and y star is alpha upon alpha plus beta m by px and beta upon alpha plus beta m by py. We know that this is the equilibrium that we have, right? Similarly, for this is the equilibrium. So then if I tell you that your utility function is min of xy, or even if I include some alpha and beta, alpha x beta y subject to the budget constraint, again you should know what your x star and y star are. है ना? So one of each type you have to go ahead and do. That's the first thing which all of you will be revising. I have added those questions in today's assignment also. आप उससे भी कर सकते हो. That is very very important from exam point of view. ठीक है? Now in exam sometimes you will notice कि question बहुत direct ना होके थोड़ा सा indirect होगा. माने for example, let's say I give you a utility function. Say I give you this. I give you px, py, income. So instead of asking you equilibrium x star y star, I may ask you find the maximum utility of consumer. Right? Find the maximum utility of this consumer. Right? So it means that once you find x star y star, आपको उसको वापस इस utility function में plug in करके utility की value निकालनी है. So be very sure as to what the question is asking. ठीक है? Because you can have fill in the blank kind of question. Mane, you will not be given question with MCQs always. So therefore it is important कि यहाँ पर आप statement को बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ो. Sometimes they may ask you find equilibrium value of good y. And many times I have noticed that students थोड़ा जल्दी में they go ahead and they write the equilibrium value of good x. ठीक है, they do vice versa. y पूछ रहा है x डाल देंगे, x पूछ रहा है y डाल देंगे. So be very sure कि आप क्वेश्चन को अच्छे से रीड करो and you know exactly what the question is asking. ठीक है, so that's the first thing. You will do all form of utility functions. कौन कौन से forms हैं बेटा? Which forms are important? Cobb-Douglas, complementary good, substitute goods, very very important, quasi-linear. I don't know why this is the favorite among examiners. CES utility function. I will do one question on this today. इसके ऊपर आज एक discussion करेंगे. And lexicographic. I hope I have covered all cases. ये सारे cases का again because we are in the marathon form माने आपको you have to do this thing in a formula sheet. So you prepare 1 to 2 page sheet फ्रॉम द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ योर फाइनल एग्जाम. अपने फाइनल एग्जाम के हिसाब से एक शीट बनाओ जिसमें आप इन सब का फाइनल आंसर क्या आता है. यू जस्ट प्लग दोज थिंग्स फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. लाइक आई नो दैट इफ इट इज Cobb-Douglas it will be this. Like I know that if it is a min function then alpha x will be equal to beta y. So you know x by y will be beta by alpha. So if x by y will be beta by alpha, I can plug this in the budget line. मैं यहाँ पे I can plug, if I just find x by y everywhere, so I can plug that px into x by y plus py equal to m by y. I can plug x by y as beta by alpha and find the value. है ना, निकाल सकते हैं. So if I just plug x by y as beta by alpha plus py equal to m by y, you can find the value of y from this equation. ठीक है. सो बेसिकली यू नीड टू नो ईच एंड एवरी केस. इसके लिए आई थिंक एडवांस लेक्चर 1 2 3 is something you can quickly revise through, but you need to prepare this sheet thoroughly with you. ठीक है. So that's the first thing, and in notes maybe I've done exactly the same thing. The second thing which is important from the point of view of our exam is how to go from Marshallian to Hicksian and vice versa. So, I understand that I have found out Marshallian. Marshallian mein what do we do? Marshallian mein we maximize utility subject to budget constraint. And Hicksian mein what do we do? We minimize expenditure subject to given level of utility. Right? Subject to given level of utility. Now the interesting thing is कि यहां से जो हमारा x star and y star आता है, they are a function of income and prices. And यहाँ से जो हमारा x star y star आता है, the x star y star we get, they are a function of utility and prices. Right? But from Marshallian we can go towards Hicksian, and from Hicksian we can go towards Marshall. माने both of them are doing the same thing. दोनों एक ही चीज कर रहे हैं, just that one is written as a function of income and prices and other is written as a function of utility and prices. Right? तो इसी को you remember we called this as duality theorem. So duality theorem basically goes ahead and just suggests that the equilibriums that you get, right, from primal and dual are the same, right? It's the same solution that you're getting, though they may be written in different ways, but they mean the same thing. And we proved this graphically also. तो जब हम इसको कर रहे थे, we were trying to hold budget line constant and reach highest indifference curve. And here we were trying to hold indifference curve constant and reach the lowest budget line. और हम देख रहे थे that both of these things give us the same solution which is achievable by the tangency condition. तो if I have to solve Marshallian और Hicksian, चाहे मुझे Marshallian निकालना है या Hicksian निकालना है, my solution step 1 is the same. That I have to equate MRS to PX by PY. यहाँ पे भी MRS to PX by PY. But क्या differ करेगा? That here once I find Y in terms of X and here I find Y in terms of X, here ये वाला equation will go in the constraint. माने इसको budget line में plug करेंगे. And here when I will equate MRS to PX by PY and find Y in terms of X, it will go in the constraint. माने इसको हम utility में plug in करेंगे. Right? So the first condition of solving is the same, that MRS should be equal to PX by PY. But after we find MRS equal to PX by PY, whether we will be putting it in the budget line या utility depends on what is the constraint of that question. So here the constraint is budget line and here the constraint is utility. That's how Marshallian and Hicksian differ. So that is exactly what I've tried to explain in these notes. Of course, we have done indirect utility function. This is important. All of you will revise what is Roy's identity and Shepard's lemma from the lecture notes. Okay. Now let me go to, so I have done all of this. Whatever I said, I have done that. You just look into the notes. Now let us try to revise through some questions. So look into this first question. Try to answer this in the chat window. And through this, we will revise the concept of homothetic preferences and homogeneous preferences. Just do this. This is GATE 2025 question. Give it a try. Tell me about the first statement. Huh? Is statement 1 true or false? False. Okay. How about others? What is homothetic function? What was a homothetic utility function? Homothetic utility function was any utility function where the MRS was a function of the ratio of the commodity. माने इसको हमने इकोनॉमिक्स में क्या बोला था, that if I have an indifference curve map, if I pass a ray through the origin, अगर मैं एक ray through origin निकालती हूं तो रे थ्रू ओरिजिन का प्रॉपर्टी हो जाता है दैट हियर द रेशियो ऑफ द टू गुड्स इज अनचेंज्ड. माने पॉइंट ए, पॉइंट बी, पॉइंट सी पर x1/x2 अनचेंज्ड होगा बिकॉज इट इज ऑन द सेम रे थ्रू ओरिजिन. सो द रे थ्रू ओरिजिन विल हैव सम इक्वेशन. जैसे यहाँ पे ये इक्वेशन इसका हो सकता है दैट x2 इज इक्वल टू 2 टाइम्स x1. तो x2/x1 2 हो जाएगा. सो देर इज अ कॉमन रेशियो व्हेन वी पास अ रे थ्रू द ओरिजिन. अब इधर इफ आई फाइंड द एमआरएस, व्हाट इज एमआरएस? एमआरएस इज द स्लोप ऑफ द इंडिफरेंस कर्व. तो अगर मैं यहाँ पे एमआरएस निकालती हूं एंड आई गेट एमआरएस टू बी द सेम, हाउ विल एमआरएस बी सेम? हाउ विल आई शो इट? माने these lines are parallel because parallel lines will have same slope. So if MRS is the same, if these lines are parallel to each other, तब हम ये बोल सकते हैं, then we can go ahead and we can say that this is a homothetic function. So when you pass a ray through the origin, if the MRS is same, it means MRS is dependent on the ratio. As long as ratio same रहेगा, MRS भी same है. Right? If ratio is same, MRS is also same. If that is getting satisfied, then it is homothetic function. ठीक है. So basically what we have to check in this question for part A, क्या check करना है? Very simple. You will find MRS. If MRS is a function of x1/x2 या x2/x1, then it is homothetic. Then it is homothetic. Now find the MRS of this and MRS of this. निकालो. Find the MRS. So utility function in case 1 is 1 by delta z1 to the power z delta plus z2 to the power delta. MRS will be mu1 by mu2. So if I differentiate this with respect to z1, differentiate with respect to z2, तो मुझे MRS मिलेगा. If I differentiate with respect to z1, so what will I get? Delta comes out, z1 to the power delta minus 1. If I differentiate with respect to z2, so delta comes out, z2 to the power delta minus 1. Of course, यहाँ पे, so just think about it, that when I am differentiating with respect to z1, with respect to z1, then this z2 is a constant. That is why plus 0 है ये. I mean, there is no reason to write it. 0 लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है. But I'm just telling you, huh? And when I'm differentiating with respect to z2, so z1 is a constant. So this cancel, cancel, cancel. So this will be z1 by z2 to the power delta minus 1. माने it is a ratio. It's a function of ratio of z1 and z2. So we can go ahead and say that this is homothetic. Yes. Now find MRS here. So it is mu1 by mu2. So if I differentiate with respect to z1, I get 2. With respect to z2, I get 1 by z2. So I get 2z2. And you notice that it is not a function of the ratio. Only Z2 is coming. Mane, this is not homothetic. It is not homothetic. So we can say that the first statement is true. Now do the second one. Tell me about the second statement. Is it true or false? Okay, true, false. True. So, देखो, very simple. You put delta as 1. Either you plug delta as 1. So what will you get? 1 by 1, z1 to the power 1, z2 to the power 1. माने you will get z1 plus z2. ये तो substitute good हो गया. This is a line. है ना? So if it is a line is both concave and convex, but neither strictly concave nor strictly convex. Concave और convex तो है, but strictly concave, strictly convex नहीं है. Why? What was a strictly convex function? That if I take their average bundle will lie on higher indifference curve. You join a line, उस line पे कोई भी एक dot लगाओ, it should be on higher IC. But when it is a line, I take 2 points, I join them, the point also is on the same IC. So it is convex. Convex भी है, concave भी है. But strictly concave भी नहीं है and strictly convex भी नहीं है. So a line is both concave and convex. So this is a true statement because it is saying not strictly convex. Correct? Nothing wrong with it. Okay, statement number C. Is it true or false? Is statement C true or false? The MRS for CES and QL utility are dependent on both Z1 and Z2. False. ये तो same ही चीज हो गया. We proved that this is only a function of Z2. It was not a function of Z1 and Z2. तो ये हम prove कर चुके हैं. Right? Come to the next question. If Z1 is equal to Z2, MRS is 2 for both CES and QL utility function. If Z1 is equal to Z2, then MRS is 2 for both the functions. False, false, correct. तो बेटा अगर Z1 Z2 के equal है, if I put here, Z1 and Z2 equal, माने they will cancel out each other. I'll be left up with 1. 1 का कुछ भी पार्ट निकालो, you should get 1. So MRS of CES will be 1, not 2. है ना? So this is also false. So what we notice, which of the following statement is are not correct? Again, कहीं mention नहीं था MCQ है या MSQ. It is for you to judge whether it is MCQ or MSQ. Answer will be C and D. Okay. Now, I am not doing these non-MCQ questions. These are for you to revise. I have given you one type of each utility function. So come to this one. Give this one a try. The CES and Cobb-Douglas utilities are given to you. Let price be 2 and 1 and income be 12 and alpha be 0.5. Which of the following statement is or are correct? You have to tell me about the first one, about A. Think. As rho tends to 0, utility CE is a utility function of CES approaches Cobb-Douglas. Is it true or false? Answer this. Anyone? Is it true or false? False. Okay. Why? If you will put 0 here, you cannot prove it. So how did you say true or false? How did you try proving it? Okay. Apply limit. Tell me what happens. What answer will you get? Okay, as p tends to 0, fine. What answer are we getting? What kind of utility function are you getting? अच्छा, एक बात बताओ. So if I take my utility function as x1 to the power rho, x2 to the power rho, whole to the power 1 by rho, and I find MRS. MRS क्या आएगा? mu1 by mu2. mu1 will be 1 by rho, x1 to the power rho plus x2 to the power rho, whole to the power 1 by rho minus 1. I'm using chain rule. And then rho x1 to the power rho minus 1. ये आएगा. And if I differentiate with respect to x2, I'll get 1 by rho, x1 to the power rho, x2 to the power rho, whole to the power 1 by rho minus 1, rho, x2 to the power rho minus 1. यही आएगा. If I cancel this, I will get x1 by x2 to the power rho minus 1. Now, since it is given to me, rho is between 0 and 1, I'm just finding it generally. So, rho minus 1 will be negative. If rho is between 0 and 1, so rho is less than 1, rho minus 1 will be negative. So, when we have negative power, if I have x to the power minus 1, I can write this as 1 by x. So, we can reciprocate it. So if I have negative power, I can write this as x2 by x1 to the power 1 minus rho. We'll stop here for now. Now look here. If I ask you, your utility function is x1 to the power alpha, x2 to the power 1 minus alpha, and I ask you what is the MRS. So it will be mu1 by mu2. So if I find MRS, क्या आएगा? Alpha, x1 to the power alpha minus 1, x2 to the power 1 minus alpha, 1 minus alpha, x1 to the power alpha, x2 to the power alpha minus, 1 minus alpha minus 1. So if I solve this, I will get alpha upon 1 minus alpha x2 by x1. है ना? ये आएगा MRS. And if I plug alpha is 0.5, अगर alpha को 0.5 रखते हैं यहाँ पे, so I'll get 0.5 upon 0.5 x2 by x1. That means x2 by x1. And if I put according to option A rho as 0, if I plug rho as 0, so I will get x2 by x1 to the power 1 minus 0 माने x2 by x1. Functions which have same MRS are similar in nature, because one can be a monotonic transformation of the other. Only then they have similar MRS. So when I only for the condition when I plugged rho as 0, I don't know how you guys are applying limit and what you guys are doing. But when I plug rho as 0, although it's approaching 0, I understand that. So, I mean, it can be something very, very close to 0, right? So, it could have been 0.00000000001. No problem. It's very, very close to 0. So, in limits, you always can apply that at that number as long as continuity persists. So if I just put 0 directly, अगर मैं 0 ही लगा दूं, I will notice that I am getting x2 by x1 as MRS here also. And I am getting x2 by x1 as MRS here also. Mane I am getting the same MRS. So how can they be different? We have done in class the limiting cases. Revise that, beta, वो बहुत important है exam के लिए. That what happens when rho tends to infinity, what happens when it tends to 0, what happens when it tends to 1. मेरे को तो ये proof करने का जरूरत भी नहीं था. You should have known by heart these three cases. When it goes towards Cobb-Douglas, when it goes towards complementary good, when it goes towards substitute good, these three cases you have to remember, right? और ये एक ही बारी के लिए you have to remember. Then you can apply for producer or consumer. हाँ, तो we have done constant elasticity of substitution in production function. But it does not matter. Concept तो same ही है ना. My utility की जगह my x1 and x2 could have been inputs of the firm. And u की जगह I could have written y, output. Production function बना देते इसे. Answer would have been the same. P1, P2 की जगह we could have written input prices W1, W2. Right? So questions are similar. CES ho for production side or consumer side does not matter. But you have to remember the limiting case of CES production function or CES consumption functions. Right? Or if you have time, you can prove it. But proof में फिर सही approach apply करना है. You cannot just keep saying random things like we'll find the limit and we'll do this. Where are you finding the limit? How are you finding the limit? What are you doing with this function? Right? So this is how the first part will be done. MRS for this will be this. I have already proved MRS, तो मैंने निकाल ही दिया है. So yes, I have found that out. The Marshallian demand for Cobb-Douglas is 3 and 6. Do it now. Find the Marshallian demand. Tell me what answer you're getting. All of you find Marshallian demand. So I don't want you to copy the chart from here. It would be an incomplete chart that you will be making. I want you to go ahead and find elasticity of substitution and then take different value of rho, right? So go back to the lecture that we did. उसमें there is a table जिसमें हमने क्या prepare किया था, that for different values of rho, what is the value of sigma, माने elasticity of substitution, and which case, limiting case is that. So you should know all three things together, huh? जैसे for one, let me tell you. So when rho is 1, we know that it is substitute good. But when it is substitute good, the elasticity of substitution becomes infinite. right? So you have to do it for complementary goods, you have to do it for Cobb-Douglas goods, and you have to do it generally for CES function. You complete this table in this way. Okay, anything can come from this table. Okay, so tell me the Marshallian demand, part C. Yeah, I would not know the lecture number. I am not Chat GPT. How would I pull out the lecture number? You have to search. It is the first or second lecture of production theory. We have done this in production function, huh? So if you go to production function, wherever we start with producer theory, in that the second or third lecture, you should find this. Yes, yes, that's right. Advanced micro. 2.5 and 5. ठीक है. So from these marathons, keep pulling out the information that is being used in the questions and keep putting them in the charts. जैसे ये एक चार्ट हो गया, utility functions एक चार्ट हो गया, formula sheet एक चार्ट हो गया जिसमें you write Shepard's lemma, you write Roy's identity, you write duality theorem. आप उनको 2-3 पेज में लिखते जाओ. Keep summarizing them. So let's see. So we have to find the Marshallian demand. So we get x1 alpha, x2 to the power 1 minus alpha, and both are half. So I get x1 to the power half, x2 to the power half. So I will get, so directly I will apply the formula. X1 star will be half m by px, and x2 star will be half m by py. Now px is 2 and py is 1. So half 12 by 2, half 12 by 1. That's it. This is your answer. So this is also correct. Statement C is also correct. Right? Statement C is also correct. D batao. Both utilities are non-homothetic. Both utilities are non-homothetic. Tell me that. False. Correct. They are homothetic. Because we saw that both of them are coming as a function of the ratio of x1 and x2. So definitely they are homothetic. Okay. So again I am telling you that in the formula sheet, जो भी ये sheet बना रहे हो, there itself you will write forever कि what is a homothetic utility function in one line, and you will keep it for your revision. ठीक है? Okay. So write down. So start with this question, huh? So why this is important? I want to highlight something very important. I'll take another one. Probably you can do it yourself. I'll take a bigger one from this. Just give me a minute. This one. Okay. So why this is important? तो एक और important aspect जो exam में आ सकता है from the point of view of exam, that is basically your budget line which are kinged. King budget line. ठीक है. Now for revision, all of you will do the case of food stamp program, which is from intermediate video lecture. Budget line. ओनली दिस, सिर्फ ये वाला करना है, हाँ, सिर्फ फूड स्टैम्प प्रोग्राम को, इट विल बी टूवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ द चैप्टर बजट लाइन, एकदम इंटरमीडिएट का फर्स्ट चैप्टर दैट इज बजट लाइन, जस्ट रिवाइज फूड स्टैम्प प्रोग्राम, ठीक है. What kind of questions will be asked in exam? So I have written a similar question here, so read it out. So it says, suppose good X has quantity discount up to 10 units, price is 5, and any unit above 10 price is 3, right? So if you buy X up to 10 units, your price of good X is 5. And if you buy X above 10 units, the price of good X becomes 3. Okay. Price of good Y is 2. Price of good Y is 2. And you're given income as 200. And you are given a utility function which is X to the power half and Y to the power half. Question is asking, find X star and Y star. ठीक है, या ऐसा आ सकता है, या क्वेश्चन में गो अहेड एंड दे में आस्क यू फाइंड द ऑप्टिमल यूटिलिटी. सो okay, just take a minute, try to do it yourself, then we'll see. Give it a try. Write it in the chat window once. This is the question. When you buy less than 10 units, price is 5. More than 10 units, price is 3. Price of good Y is 2. Income is 200. Utility function is X to the power half, Y to the power half.